Hey friends, I hope your day is going well. Today I am back in Windenburg building another build for the Monty family. So this is going to be the family restaurant for the Montys, which doesn't actually exist in The Sims 2, but I wanted to not recreate it, but just create it in The Sims 4. If you aren't familiar with the Monty family, they are one of the main families from The Sims 2 Veronaville, which is one of the worlds in that game. And they have a feud with the Caps, and it's supposed to be like a parallel to Romeo and Juliet with the Montagues and the Capulets. So the Monty family, there's quite a few Sims here. There's Patricio and Isabella. They're kind of the grandparents of the family. And then they have a son, Antonio, and he has two kids, Beatrice and Benedict. And Antonio's bio from The Sims 2 is about him trying to decide whether to give up his job at the family restaurant and use his savings to raise his twins, or if he should hire help and keep the job he loves. Because his wife has recently died, presumably from the family feud. And yeah, so this is that family restaurant that I am creating since it didn't actually exist in The Sims 2. And I'm building all of the Monty houses on the big island in Windenburg. That way I can make all of their houses have kind of a different, more Spanish or Mediterranean or Italian sort of feel, I guess, since technically, Romeo and Juliet is supposed to take place in Italy, whereas the rest of Windenburg has a much more Tudor style, which is also a similar style as the Capulet houses or Cap houses from The Sims 2. So that section, like pretty much the rest of Windenburg, will have that kind of Tudor style. So it's nice that, the island is separate. They can have kind of their own style. So the restaurant is also on the island next to the house that I made for Antonio and his kids, which I will link down below and here on the screen if you want to watch that one, if you haven't checked that out. I really like that house. I thought it turned out nicely, if I do say so myself. So for this restaurant, I wanted it to have a very Italian feel to it. But of course, when I searched Italian restaurants into Google to get some, inspiration, it just showed me pictures of Olive Garden, which, not really the vibe that I'm going for. So I had to be a little bit more specific, but I think I found a really good inspiration pic that had this interesting kind of, partial wall around part of it that was, I don't know, it just gave it kind of some more architectural interest. And then it was a double, level, had kind of a patio area. So I took a lot of inspiration from that. And it's very open air, which is cool, but if you have the Seasons expansion pack, it does snow in Windenburg, so this might be a more seasonal restaurant, if anything. And overall, I tried to keep the build fairly simple, both in the number of packs that I used and how things were laid out, since I know Dine Out can be a bit buggy, so I wanted to make sure that the employees and everything could navigate really well and deliver food and stuff. I did do some playtesting when I was doing the screenshots, and everything seemed to work pretty well. The staff were able to make the meals and deliver them to customers without really any issues, and it was fairly quick, at least for me. So hopefully, if you do decide to download this off the gallery, it works well for you. But yeah, so I had this kind of weird area, so I put in, I had enough space to do 3 bathrooms, which is nice. So plenty of bathrooms for the Sims. Here is the kitchen, which I always like to add more than what's really required, since all you really need is the waiter's stand where they clean up, and then the stove for all the cooking. But I do add in a bunch of other things, and then I added in this kind of rear door that I imagine would be like the employee entrance. So they would go through the kitchen to start their shift and all of that. Although in gameplay, a lot of customers were just using it, which was not really the effect that I wanted. So if you notice that, you might be able to lock the door. I couldn't do it in gameplay, maybe because I didn't own the restaurant. I was just going there as a regular customer. But I wonder if it would let you lock the door if you are running it. So that would be interesting to check out. But otherwise, you may just want to remove that if you don't want customers walking through there. And I decided to do this wall of wine racks, or nectar racks, excuse me. Which, pro tip, make sure that you figure out what color you want to use before you stack all of these, because I wanted to change the color and then that took a while to change all of those. And then for some reason when I was building more walls, it kept deleting the top row of them, which is annoying. So later on, the top row will be missing again, but I do end up adding them back in before I finish the build. So you might not see that, but I do go back and add it. But yeah, I'm not sure if you can actually use or sell nectar in a restaurant. I didn't have any nectar to test it with, but I wanted to have that in for the kind of storytelling that I wanted to do, because when I build the main Monty house, I'm going to make it kind of like a vineyard, so they're, you know, making nectar and all of that, and I imagine that they sell it here in the restaurant and people love it. So I don't know if it actually works in gameplay, but that's the story that I'm going to be telling. And there are quite a few tables throughout this main floor, but I wanted to make sure that they were fairly well spaced so that people could navigate around them easily. So I did these ones out on the patio that kind of face the ocean. I thought that would be really nice. And then I did a few of these umbrella tables where there isn't any sort of shelter or overhang over them. So I thought that worked nicely, kind of varied it up a little bit. And for this upper level, I'll end up making this into more of a bar and hangout area. I didn't want to add tables up here so your Sims weren't being seated in a bunch of different places. I just wanted to make it a little bit simpler for gameplay. But yeah, I do add in a bar up here, which I wasn't sure would actually work. I couldn't remember if they would staff it, but there was a bartender there when I visited as a customer, so that's nice. That seems to automatically do that. I couldn't really remember when I built this. I was hoping it would be functional, because that would be really disappointing if it wasn't, but yeah, so, and I'm just kind of pulling out a bunch of random things that I'll put around the place later. I wanted to put in those bar shelves, and I saw a bunch of other things, so I pulled those out, and then I added those great signs, which I'm pretty sure are from Dine Out as well, as sort of like the name of the restaurant. So I imagine this is a little bit more slightly upscale Italian food, and I actually decided to name the restaurant Il Molo Sabbioso, hopefully I'm saying that correctly, which is Italian for the Sandy Wharf. Since the restaurant is on an island and there's like a dock outside, my headcanon is that people would, boat up to the place and dock and get out and go to the restaurant and everything. Obviously that doesn't happen in The Sims. They just magically appear on the lot. But yeah, so I thought that would be kind of a fun name for it. I really wanted to name it something with dock, but I couldn't find a good literal translation for that in Italian. It kept wanting to use a word that also means pelvis. So that was interesting. That's compliments of Google Translate, so who knows how accurate that is. So if there are any people who speak Italian watching this, please let me know if Il Molo Sabbioso makes sense, or if that is nonsense or really offensive. If it's offensive, I apologize, but that's what Google told me. And I decided to add in the sort of, like the ends of a beam that would be sticking out. But then I realized that most of them are actually just on the half wall, so they're literally decorative. They wouldn't actually, serve any sort of function, which is fine. I left them there because I thought it looked better right there. But yeah, they're just completely decorative. I tried to lower them here, but you couldn't really see them then with the kind of pergolas that I put there. So I just put them back up. I think it looks fine that way, but we're just gonna pretend that they do something. And yeah, so I only used, like I said, I only used a few packs on here. I used obviously base game, get together, dine out, horse ranch, and I think that's it. Mostly because I needed horse ranch for the nectar stuff, but I did use a couple other pieces from there. And then I created this sort of gallery wall by adding a couple other paintings, which I really liked how that turned out. I might have to do that more often, since Dine Out had that really great gallery wall already. And there were a couple other paintings that I wanted to use, so just kind of added it to that, and it worked out really nicely. And with this wall, I'm trying to arrange a couple of different photos to kind of fill it up. I really wish I could have found, or that I had, access to 4 photos that kind of went together that were similar size. There were a couple other ones that would have been the right size, but the pictures didn't really make sense. So I ended up swapping it out for, I'm pretty sure that big long one was from Dine Out. So that worked out, fine. Wasn't quite what I was going for, but, So where I did this, partial wall that kind of goes around the edge of it, I was going to add in these flower planters. But every time I would try to lift up, at a platform, it was like the stairs were connected to this section instead, so they kept popping up, which is very weird. I don't know. I've never seen that happen before. So I ended up having to kind of readjust the other section. But yeah, so I just added in some kind of simple bushes and I don't know, that sort of lavender colored plant. I don't know if it actually is lavender. But yeah, I think it looked really nice. Yeah, it was super weird with the stairs. I could not get it to do what I wanted it to do. So I was gonna make it wider and tried to do it in a different order to trick it, but it's too smart. It was not gonna let me do that. So yeah, I just moved all the stairs in the middle, which worked out fine. And then the flower boxes are a little bit different, but I think the effect is still what I was going after, and I think it still looked pretty decent. So yeah, just kind of rearranging some things here, and then yeah, adding in a little bit more landscaping. Landscaping's pretty simple, mostly because the lot doesn't have a lot of room for plants, since it's mostly covered by the footprint of the restaurant. Plus there's a lot of plants and stuff around, and there's the ocean there, so I didn't really want to block the view. It's kind of the selling point of the restaurant, if you will. And yeah, pretty simple overall. And then yeah, I think I just need to do the lighting for the lot, and then that will pretty much wrap it up. So the next build that I'm going to be doing is the Summer Dream House. So this is another family from Veronaville in The Sims 2, based off of another work of Shakespeare. So yeah, so that'll be the one coming out on Tuesday. I was worried because I thought I was originally going to do the Monty Ranch, the big Monty house, next. But that'll be, I think, the following week. Just because I was concerned because I wanted to create a bunch of the Sims, and I haven't done that yet, and there's 40 that I need to create. So in order to have all the ancestors and everything, so that is going to take a little while. Similar to the Cap family, which has also taken quite a while to recreate. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, that helps a lot. And please subscribe if you'd like to see more. Like I said, this is on the gallery if you'd like to download it. And yeah, thanks for watching. Have a great day.